There comes a moment in your journey when everything begins to distort, your routines stop working, your emotions feel unpredictable, and your mind gets flooded with thoughts that don't seem to belong to you. And yet, something deep within whispers, "Don't panic. You're upgrading." That's the paradox of a vibrational shift. It doesn't arrive with fireworks and clarity. It arrives through friction, confusion, and the strange unraveling of who you thought you were. But if you're paying attention, like really paying attention, you'll start seeing signs that you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. You're about to unlock a 10x vibration shift, and it will change everything about how you see, feel, and create reality. What makes this shift so powerful isn't just the change in mood or energy. It's the fact that your entire energetic field is preparing for a quantum leap. You are no longer operating from the same set of assumptions, beliefs, or timelines. You're being pulled into a higher vibrational bandwidth that doesn't just make life feel better, it makes you a completely different signal in the field. And that signal starts attracting, repelling, and creating on a level you've never experienced before. But before that happens, the universe gives you clues, breadcrumbs, that something enormous is about to occur. And if you know how to read those signs, you can move through the shift with power instead of panic. One of the first signs that you're about to unlock a 10x vibration shift is that your old coping mechanisms start to fail completely. The things you used to turn to for escape, comfort, or control, whether it's food, social media, emotional shutdown, overthinking, or even spiritual bypassing, stop working. They don't numb you. They don't distract you. They don't help you feel safe. Instead, they feel heavy, dull, even nauseating. This is not a failure. It's evidence that your vibration is rising beyond the frequency of those old tools. You're being invited to meet life directly, without filters, to feel what you avoided, to face what you buried, to listen to what you've been silencing.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
When this happens, it can feel disorienting. You might say, "I don't know what to do anymore." But that's the point. You're not supposed to know what to do from the old self, because that self is dissolving. You're not malfunctioning, you're shedding. Your vibration is too high to tolerate falseness. And so anything that is not rooted in truth will begin to fall away, not as punishment, but as purification. The question is, can you sit in the space between who you were and who you're becoming without rushing to fill it? Another sign of a coming 10x vibration shift is timeline turbulence. You might start experiencing strange synchronicities, glitches in time, strange dreams, or meetings with people who feel like echoes from a future that hasn't happened yet. You might lose track of linear time. Days blend together. Hours feel stretchy. You're not going crazy. You're slipping between timelines. Your vibration is accessing multiple potentials simultaneously, and your body is trying to catch up. This is why you might feel exhausted one moment and ecstatic the next. Your field is expanding rapidly, and your nervous system is recalibrating to hold more light, more clarity, more frequency. In this space, you're not supposed to have answers. You're supposed to listen. Pay attention to what's repeating. Pay attention to what disappears. Pay attention to what feels like a magnet pulling you forward. This is multidimensional navigation. You're leaving the highway of normal life and entering a jungle of infinite pathways. and your vibration is the compass. The more you align with love, truth, and presence, the clearer the path becomes. Not because it's logical, but because it feels inevitable. You'll also notice that your body starts speaking louder than ever before. Your physical vessel is not separate from your spiritual journey, it's the gateway. And before a 10x vibration shift, your body will begin to purge. Old trauma stored in your muscles, fascia, and organs will rise to the surface. You might experience headaches, flu-like symptoms, fatigue, digestive issues, joint pain, or sudden changes in appetite. Again, this is not always illness, it's intelligence. Your body is trying to make space for the new frequency. It's clearing out density. It's pushing out the old coding. This is when you must become the most gentle with yourself. Not lazy, not checked out, but gentle. You hydrate like it's sacred. You sleep like it's a download. You stretch like it's spiritual. You move not to burn calories, but to circulate frequency. Every act of self-care becomes an act of energetic preparation. And if you resist this and try to push through with your old pace and mindset, you'll feel exhausted because your frequency is too high for the old hustle model. Rest becomes integration. Stillness becomes a spiritual workout. You might also notice that your relationships begin to shift rapidly. Some people will start pulling away. Others will appear seemingly out of nowhere, but feel deeply familiar. Some connections will feel like sandpaper, irritating, uncomfortable, and revealing. This is not random. It's spiritual sorting. Your vibration is changing the contracts. The people who are not aligned with your next frequency will either rise with you or quietly exit. And those who are meant to support your evolution will begin orbiting closer, often without effort. You don't have to chase, force, or explain. The field does the work. You just have to stay true. This can be painful, especially if you've built your identity around certain relationships. But the key is to stop measuring loyalty by time and start measuring it by frequency. Who sees you in your becoming? Who honors your truth, not just your history? Who challenges you to rise, not stay comfortable? These are the soul allies of your next level. And when you release the ones who can't meet you there, you create space for those who can. This is not selfish. It's sacred discernment. One of the most overlooked signs of a vibration shift is what I call the void pull. It's this deep, inexplicable silence that begins to open inside you. It's not depression. It's not boredom. It's not apathy. It's a womb, a sacred emptiness, a space where the old has dissolved and the new hasn't fully formed. It's uncomfortable because there's nothing to grab onto. And yet, it's the most fertile place in your journey. Most people try to escape the void, but the chosen ones sit in it. They trust it, because they know the void is where the code gets rewritten. If you're in this space, don't rush to fill it. Don't distract yourself. Don't numb out. Just listen. Just breathe. Just be. The old tools won't work here because you're not supposed to be building from memory. You're supposed to be building from vision. And vision doesn't come from the mind. It comes from the stillness behind the mind. That's where the 10x vibration shift is born. In the pause, in the breath, in the moment you don't try to be anything, and suddenly you become everything. As you begin to feel the void more deeply, something else rises with it: clarity. Not the kind of clarity that comes from thinking harder or analyzing more, but the kind that arrives in stillness, as a knowing deeper than thought. It shows up when you least expect it, while washing dishes, walking in nature, or even sitting in silence with no intention. Suddenly you just know. You know what's not aligned anymore. You know what your soul has been whispering all along. You know what you've been avoiding, pretending not to hear. This is one of the strongest indicators that a 10x shift is near, the arrival of soul truths that feel undeniable, even if they seem inconvenient or terrifying to your ego. And here's what happens next: resistance, massive, primal resistance. The closer you get to a breakthrough, the louder your ego screams. It will try to convince you that you're not ready, that you're going to lose something important, that you're making a mistake. Old patterns will resurface. People from your past might reappear. You'll be offered distractions, temptations, even new opportunities that feel exciting but misaligned. These are tests, not traps. They show up to see if you're still available for the old frequency. And your job is to say no, not from fear, but from embodiment. This is where many people turn back. They interpret resistance as a sign to stop. But in spiritual truth, resistance is almost always a sign that you're entering new terrain. You're pushing through the frequency ceiling that's kept you small. And the system, the internal one you've built, is trying to pull you back into safety. But safety isn't the goal. Alignment is. And alignment often requires letting go of the very things that gave you an identity. That's why it hurts. But that's also why it works. One of the most powerful signs that a 10x vibration shift is underway is the collapse of your inner narratives. You stop being able to believe your own excuses. You stop defending your limitations. You stop needing to be right about your pain. It's like the story you've been telling yourself for years suddenly sounds hollow. You hear yourself say things like, "That's just how I am," or "I'll never be able to do that," and it feels wrong. Not because it's morally wrong, but because it's energetically expired. You've outgrown it. And now, the only thing keeping it alive is repetition. This is where you meet the edge of your old self. The part that only knows how to survive. The part that's terrified of expansion. You don't need to fight this part. You need to love it. You need to sit with it, breathe with it, and let it dissolve. Because when that old narrative dies, your vibration takes a quantum leap. Not because you forced something, but because you released the lie. And in that release, you call your true self forward. You may also begin experiencing a heightened sensitivity to your surroundings. Sounds might feel louder, lights too bright, crowds overwhelming. On the surface, this might seem like fragility, but it's actually refinement. Your energy field is becoming more precise, more tuned. You're no longer able to tolerate frequencies that once felt normal. This includes not just environments, but conversations, content, and even your own thoughts. You might find yourself craving silence, depth, nature, and truth like oxygen. That's not a phase. That's your system aligning with your soul. This sensitivity is not something to suppress. It's something to honor. You are not too sensitive. You are finally sensitive enough to feel what your higher self has been trying to tell you for years. And that sensitivity becomes your compass. It tells you what's real. It tells you what's safe. It tells you what's sacred. The more you follow it, the more your vibration rises effortlessly. Because now you're being guided from within, not by fear, not by programming, but by pure resonance. Another sign you're on the brink of a 10x shift is that you begin to feel strangely detached from your old life, not in a dissociative way, but in a clear, quiet, soul-level way. You look at the things you used to chase: status, validation, approval, and realize they no longer hold weight. You stop needing to convince people. You stop needing to be understood. You stop needing to fix others. It's not that you become cold. You become clear. You understand that your energy is no longer available for anything that drains your frequency just to keep an illusion alive. This detachment is not disconnection. It's realignment. You're pulling your energy back. You're becoming sovereign again. And when this happens, something beautiful occurs. You begin to experience peace not as a rare moment, but as a baseline. Not because your life is perfect, but because your alignment is. You're no longer living from the outside in. You're radiating from the inside out. And in that state, your vibration doesn't just rise, it transmits. People will start noticing. They'll say you feel different, or there's something about your presence. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll feel it. And that's how you know your frequency is now doing the work. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to force results. You've become the cause, and life begins to reflect that. This is when manifestations accelerate. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. Synchronicities become constant. But not because you're chasing them, because you've become a match to them. Let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What if the reason things have felt chaotic, confusing, or unstable lately is because you're not breaking, you're being rebuilt? What if everything that felt like a breakdown was actually a reprogramming? What if the discomfort isn't a sign that something's wrong, but that something sacred is being born? Because here's the truth. Every vibration shift is preceded by a collapse. Not a collapse of who you are, but of who you aren't. The roles you played, the lies you believed, the masks you wore, the identities you clung to. They all begin to fall, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. And what's underneath is not fragile, it's ferocious. It's clear. It's aligned. It's the version of you that's not limited by fear, time, or programming. The version that was always waiting to be remembered. And when that version takes over, reality bends. Not because you've mastered manifestation hacks or spiritual trends, but because you've become the vibration that no longer tolerates distortion. You walk into rooms and things shift. You speak and people listen, not because of your volume, but because of your clarity. You move through life with a sense of inevitability. Not arrogance, not ego, just deep, unshakable knowing. That's the 10x vibration shift. It's not a moment. It's a metamorphosis, and you are in the middle of it. By now, you've probably realized that this isn't just a video, it's an activation. Something inside you is no longer willing to tolerate the old frequency. Your cells are listening. Your energy is reorganizing itself. And even if you still have questions, even if your mind is trying to make sense of it all, your soul already knows you're not waiting for a shift. You're in it. The 10x vibration shift doesn't begin when everything feels perfect. It begins when you stop aligning with what's false, even when it's familiar. It begins when your desire for integrity becomes stronger than your need for comfort. It begins when you're willing to be misunderstood in order to be true. One of the final, most undeniable signs that you're about to unlock this level of vibration is when your intuition becomes louder than your logic. You'll start getting nudges, strong, undeniable urges to move, to speak, to create, to leave, to rest, to change direction. Sometimes they won't make sense. Sometimes they'll contradict everything you thought you wanted. But the feeling will be so clear, so persistent, that ignoring it becomes more painful than obeying it. This is alignment in motion. It's when your higher self is no longer whispering, but leading. And even when it scares you, you'll feel the peace underneath it. Because your soul is always calm when it's guiding you home. You'll also find that the way you measure success completely changes. It's no longer about how much you're doing, how much you're producing, or how much recognition you're receiving. It becomes about how clean your energy feels, how aligned your choices are, how deeply you can sit in silence and know you're still valuable, how willing you are to choose resonance over reward. You stop chasing the external and start cultivating the internal. Because everything external is just a mirror of your vibration, and once your vibration is high, the external has no choice but to follow. This is where the magic starts happening. You begin to realize you don't need to fight for your place in the world. You are the space. You are the frequency that magnetizes what matches. You don't hustle to prove. You align to receive. You don't force outcomes. You embody the outcome and let reality catch up. You don't chase people. You become so deeply rooted in your truth that only those who resonate with your soul can even find you. Not because you're hiding, but because your frequency has become a filter. Let me ask you something. What would it feel like to be so aligned that you no longer question your worth, your path, or your timing? What would shift if you trusted that your only job is to hold your vibration and everything else flows from that? What if you stopped trying to control the external and started mastering the internal, not as a concept, but as a daily lived experience? Because that's what a 10x shift really is. It's not about being high vibe all the time. It's about being authentically you all the time. It's about removing the distortions, the density, the distractions that have been diluting your power. It's about tuning your life like an instrument, every thought, every choice, every relationship, every habit, until your entire existence becomes a clear transmission of truth. And in that clarity, everything changes. You'll notice that your manifestations start arriving faster, but not because you're trying harder. It's because you've become a clean channel. You're no longer leaking energy through misalignment. You're no longer doubting yourself into delay. You're no longer vibrating at one level while asking for something that requires another. You're coherent. And that coherence is what collapses time. That coherence is what opens portals. That coherence is what makes you magnetic. But here's the final secret that most people miss. The 10x vibration shift is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. It's a commitment. It's a relationship with self that deepens over time. You will rise. You will plateau. You will get tested. You will be challenged. But every time you choose alignment over habit, every time you choose presence over programming, every time you choose truth over comfort, you reinforce the new frequency. You make it your default. You make it your home. And over time, this becomes your new normal. High boundaries, deep trust, clear intuition, strong energy, magnetic presence, effortless creation. Not because life is easier, but because you are clearer. You've stripped away the noise. You've upgraded your system. You've remembered who you are. And in that remembrance, you've become untouchable not by force, but by frequency. You'll look back at your old life and realize you were never weak. You were never broken. You were just vibrating at a level that couldn't support your truth. And now you're vibrating at a level that demands your truth, that protects your peace, that honors your path, that invites miracles not as rare events, but as natural consequences of alignment. So if you've been feeling the chaos, the confusion, the collapse, take a breath. You're not failing, you're ascending. You're not being punished, you're being purified. You're not lost, you're just leaving an old map behind. And the terrain you're entering cannot be navigated by logic alone. It requires presence. It requires trust. It requires vibration. You are about to unlock a 10x shift, not because someone gave it to you, but because you chose it. You earned it. You remembered it. And now, everything that no longer matches that new frequency is falling away, not to hurt you, but to home you. To bring you back to the version of you that was never afraid to shine, to speak, to feel, to create, to be. This is your time. This is the shift. This is your frequency. Now rise.